talk about Vitality?
Sure.
Okay, I've got a question for you, and it goes like this, and I'll ask it just in a totally neutral manner, which goes, if anyone read Reddit only last year, don't ever do this, by the way. Like, essentially, the joke would be, this would be like an alien's alternate version of reality if he only consumed Reddit to understand what was going on in the world of League of Legends. But if someone did do that, Peter, they would genuinely think that Perks is this player who just went to NA for the retirement home. He's washed as fuck. He essentially just check-stealed the whole year, tripped over and somehow got out of the hardest worlds group ever. Who knows how he did that? I've noticed fans just changed their mind to hating on Doinby instead. Like, he got no credit for doing it. And then obviously this year when he comes back to Europe, people would actually say, especially after week 1, maybe he's washed, maybe there's, maybe he's lost his magic, maybe something's gone. So what do you think about the Vitality project in this sense? Because it seems like he's, after week 1, he's resurrected his whole bloody career. He's back to being like a top mid laner.
Yeah, I mean, he looks insane again. He's comfortable playing with his jungler, and the two of them together are just playing really, really well. I think the problem with this Vitality team, though, is that it's obvious if you have Alfari on your team and you have Kazi on your team, you want Kazi to play weak side and you want Alfari to play strong side. This meta is not that. You cannot do that right now. So you have to
catch a fucking break, can he? Man, that's the most smoky pork guy of all time. It's like, I want to be the best top laner on my team, like, and like the league for about like the next 3 or 4 years. Like, yep, well. Yeah, whatever. You can't catch a break, mate. Can he? Nuke Dog dives off a cliff. Fucking literally replaced him with someone called Jenkins because the coach just lost his bloody mind. He can't catch a break ever, can he? He can't ever catch a break, is it? Then he goes to Europe. Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to funnel our resources into Checks Notes Kazi.
So, I mean, they're not doing that, to be fair.
That's what it feels like, isn't it? Like,
but it's super interesting, though, that TL picked him up, because the TL roster, because, often teams have like a culture or something like this. And the TL roster last year was Core JJ, Tactical, Jensen, and Thorin. So I don't know too much. I think Jensen is a bit as well. But though the other 3 players are huge grinders in solo queue. They play like solo queue non-stop. Core and Tactical, I think, have the most solo queue games played on the entire server. And then you bring in Alfari, who basically doesn't play solo queue, doesn't care about it, likes to play one-to-ones or watch VODs and things like this. And you can understand how when results don't go to plan, you look at the guy who's playing the least solo queue, right? It's easy
to. Perks is used to dealing with Wonder, so I mean, he's already had that experience.
but now he's back in EU. Nobody cares. If you're a player that doesn't like solo queue in EU, provided you keep your level up, nobody cares.
What I think is so funny about watching Vitality right now is, like, I was watching that Astralis game, and even though they were getting bodied, I just knew Vitality was going to win that game. Like, I just knew they would figure out a way to do it. Even though, like, what's so annoying is that this cavalier attitude that they have to the game, like, they make such stupid mistakes. Like, if you look at the Alfari, like, self-made, like, they're clearly, like, not even talking to each other at times, or making aggressive cross-map plays while people, like, you would never do that. Like, it's just objectively dumb, right? And it seems like their communication just, it feels like when they play Astralis, they just don't give a shit. And so they're just going to do whatever they feel like, no matter what the circumstance is. And then in a way, they then have to dig themselves out of the hole that they've put themselves in, which is objectively, I think, hilarious to watch because it's almost like they're playing with their food a little bit or seeing what they can get away with. But it got pretty dire in that game. And I think even though they are so good pound for pound, and I think people are going to look at this roster and they're going to say, or they're going to look at these games and they're going to be like, is this team actually good? But I think that when push comes to shove, I think when you get to the playoffs, this team is extremely dangerous, and they'll tighten everything up. We know they know how to do that. It just feels like they just don't care in some of these games. And I think they cared about doing badly at first, but I think that they've hit their own stride and they know what they're capable of, and they know how they can come back into these games, or at least make it competitive even when they make terribly stupid mistakes. And so they're just okay with it, I guess. Yeah. Like that's a feel that I get when watching them play, because I know that all of these guys should know better, and yet it still happens. And the only thing I can attribute it to is just not giving a shit.
I mean, it was also Astralis, right? Like
Well, I mean, I think that's why they didn't give a shit. I think it's legitimately hard for these players to be motivated in that game.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, who? Okay, so no, I was just trying to think who from that team has won, because a lot of those. But now I can think of it. Only Kazi and Perks won LEC from that team, because
Yes.
Afari didn't win.
No,
Self-May? No, he finally. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know, but we'll see how he goes in playoffs. But it's really it's quite. I agree. Like I don't think they give a shit. I know that there's certain players on that team who have been in team environments where it's okay to mess around a bit in the regular season, right? Like Kazi, it's
Perks has one fight for the last splits he fucking played in. Like he just knows it turns around when it comes to playoffs. Of course, that last 2 weeks you have to just get your shit together.
Yeah, but the scary thing is, like with Perks, you always know that playoff Perks is different, but for some reason, playoff Perks is playing in regular season, and that's the really impressive thing. Maybe it's because so many people were shitting on him that it now, there's a certain type of player. I think like Kaiser's one of those guys, Humanoid is one of those guys who the more high stakes a game is, the more they can like get invested in it, and there are. Like for those players, drawing extra attention on, maybe Perks is one of the. I assume he might be. You add that extra tension, you get the people to flame a bit. It really motivates you, right? So maybe it's that. We'll see. But
also, I'll just say, if you're one of those LCS fans who just hates on and preys on the downfall of all the top EU stars when they come over, think it through a second. So they're straight fire in Europe, not only winning domestically, but they go to Worlds, they're doing shit at MSIs, they're in finals, Worlds, semis, finals. They come to LCS. Are you following the story yet, guys? Then in LCS, they're sort of a bit shit and underwhelming, but then they go back to Europe and they're really good again. That doesn't say that they're the shit ones, by the way. I don't know if you understand like logic of that, but that A/B testing actually implies some other group of people are pretty shit and bring everyone's level down. Do you see what I'm doing with that? Like, I think I set it up pretty well there. I think that checks out.
I agree completely. It's about bluffing, right? Like if you are playing against good opponents, you can bluff much more. Whereas you try to bluff against some guy who like doesn't understand why you're doing something. Then they just kill you and you look like really stupid. So
I've got an analogy for you. It's why I actually think Reddit is full of people complaining about how bad, the whole reason Elo Hell really exists is this problem. The worst thing you could do if you're a bad player about League of Legends is watch all the pro games all the time. Because you think you understand what they're doing, and then you go into your fucking silver game and try to do those plays. A, you can't pull them off. B, you are misapplying them. And C, there is no universe your teammates are going to follow up on those plays like the pro game. So you're going to hear your brain go, well, I was doing everything right. It's like, no, actually for your level you were playing completely wrong, because as Peter said there, you're the equivalent of some like guy who watches high stakes poker fucking like table, and you're seeing some godlike fucking online player who's played 800,000 hands doing some next level bluff that would only work on another amazing, and you just go into your local cash game with Bob from the hardware store, and then you're like all in, and he's like, well, I got a pair, so I call, what the fuck, I won, and you just even play the bloody game. It's like, you don't know how to play the game, you play the man, not the bloody hand.
No, I completely agree. I think that was Perk's issue when he came to North America. I mean, also how teams play around jungle, how teams play around mid support, mid jungle. Those kind of things alter by region. They alter by team as well. So I think the people that tend to come over to North America and look good are the teams that are the players that you just get for laning. Right, and that's why I thought Alfari looked a lot better in NA than Perks before playoffs, before. And yeah, that's because of how his laning, the fact that he's so good in lane and he doesn't need outside resources. Yeah, but I maintain to this day, if Caps looks like he's falling off a bit now, although he's still. We say he's falling off, but he's still like a top 4 mid laner in Europe. But if he came to North America, I think he would struggle, at least initially, in North America.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.